Following the creation of your American company, the legal documents concerning it are normally inserted in a corporate ledger. This workbook contains tabs that clearly identify the nature of the documents that are part of it. Under the first tab of the binder, there are the official certificates issued by the state, whether or not supported by an apostille, certificate of incorporation or formation, certificate of good standing, and certificate of incumbency. Previously, we have seen what the certificate of incorporation or formation consists of. But what about the other two certificates? The certificate of good standing is an official document issued by the state, which generally confirms the following elements: the creation of the company, the date of its creation, the existence of the company on the date of issue of the certificate, the filing of all annual reports required by the state, the payment of all corporate taxes payable to the state. The certificate of incumbency is a document that generally certifies the following elements: the name of the company, the date of its creation, the legal form of the company, for example, a corporation or an LLC, the place where the company was created, for example, the state of Delaware, the company's registration number on the state register, the name of the shareholders or members of the company, the number of shares or units held by each shareholder or member, the percentage of shares or units held by each shareholder or member, the name of the directors or managers, the names and titles of the officers, for example, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, the name of the company's registered agent in the state, and the address of the company's registered office in the state. The certificate of incumbency is often prepared and signed by the incorporator or organizer before a commissioner for oaths, called a notary public in the United States. This certificate is often useful to confirm to third parties the power of directors and officers as authorized representatives of the company. For example, in Delaware, there is no other way to confirm such power. Indeed, the state's commercial register is silent on the identity of the directors, officers, and shareholders of the companies created there. However, in the case of corporations, it is possible to obtain a copy of the corporate report, which must be filed on an annual basis. In the case of LLCs, there is no requirement to file a corporate report. An apostille is an official document of the state, accompanied by a special seal that certifies one or the other of the following facts: a document is a true copy of the original, or a document was signed before a state's notary public. The apostille therefore gives the document a character of authenticity, which is then recognized almost everywhere in the world. Under the second tab of the binder are the bylaws of the corporation, or the operating agreement of the LLC. Under the third tab are the minutes and resolutions adopted by the incorporators, directors, officers, and shareholders of the corporation, or by the organizers, managers, and members of the LLC. Under the fourth tab are the share certificates, or unit certificates. Under the fifth tab is the register of shareholders or members, including the following information for each of them: name, address, telephone number, email address, and nature and number of shares or units held. Finally, under the sixth tab is the register of share or unit transfers. Now, let's look at what a corporation's share certificate is. At the top of the certificate, we usually see the elements specific to the corporation: the name of the corporation, the jurisdiction under which the corporation was created, for example, Delaware, the amount of the authorized capital stock, the par value attributed to the shares, if there is such a value, the class of shares, common or preferred. Then there are the elements specific to the certificate issued in favor of the shareholder of the corporation. Element number 1, the certificate number, usually at the top left. The first certificate issued by the corporation is numbered 1. If there is a second shareholder, the certificate representing their shares will be numbered 2. If the authorized capital stock of the corporation includes more than one class of shares, for example, Class A, B, and C shares, the numbering of the certificates may include the letter of the class involved and the certificate number. For example, the first Class A share certificate will be numbered A1, followed by A2, A3, etc. The same logic will apply to Class B and C share certificates. Element number 2. The number of shares issued, usually at the top right of the certificate. Element number 3. The name of the shareholder who holds the shares. Element number 4. The number of shares issued, this time in letters and numerals. Element number 5. The date of issue of the certificate, in U.S. format, month, day, and year. Element number 6. The names and titles of the officers who sign the certificate, often the President and Secretary. In the United States, a signature must be affixed on the line provided for this purpose. If the signature is affixed elsewhere than on the line, the document is generally presumed unsigned. In the event of a transfer of shares of a corporation, the back of the certificate must be completed. Here are the elements that it should generally include. Element number 1. The name of the transferee of the shares. Therefore, the name of the person to whom the shares are transferred. Element number 2. The number of shares transferred. If the owner of these shares wants to transfer all of them, they indicate the total number of shares specified on the front of the certificate, generally in letters and numerals. But if the owner wants to transfer only part of the shares, they then indicate the number of shares transferred. In the latter case, the transfer shareholder's share certificate is then canceled and replaced by 2 new share certificates. The first certificate, representing the shares transferred, is issued in the name of the new shareholder. The second certificate, representing the shares held, is issued in the name of the transferring shareholder. Element number 3. The name of the lawyer who is registering the transfer. If no lawyer is involved in the case, simply indicate NA for not applicable. Element number 4. The date of the transfer of shares, in U.S. format. Element number 5. The name of the transferring shareholder who signs on the line provided. And element number 6. The name of the witness who also signs on the line provided. Note that the presence of a witness, without being mandatory, is recommended. In addition, nothing prevents the new shareholder from signing as a witness to the signature of the transferring shareholder. With regard to the unit certificate of an LLC, the first elements are the name of the LLC and the jurisdiction under which the LLC was created. It should be noted that the LLC can normally issue an unlimited number of units, which generally have no nominal value. Now let's look at the specific elements of the certificate issued in favor of the LLC member. Element number 1. The certificate number. Element number 2. The number of units represented by the certificate. Element number 3. The name of the member who holds the units. Element number 4. The number of units issued, in letters and numerals. Element number 5. The date of issue of the certificate. Element number 6. The names and titles of the managers who sign, often the operating manager and the secretary manager. In the event of a transfer of units of an LLC, the back of the certificate must be completed. Here are the elements it must include. Element number 1. The name of the member acquiring the units. Element number 2. The number of units transferred, in letters and numerals. Element number 3. The name of the lawyer recording the transfer, if applicable. Element number 4. The date of transfer of units. Element number 5. The name of the transferor who signs. And element number 6, the name of the witness, who also signs. In the case of a corporation, when there are several classes of shares involved, the share certificates generally have a different color per class, which greatly facilitates their identification. Finally, an American binder often contains a corporate seal, which some call a dry stamp. The imprint of this seal may be affixed in particular to the certificates of shares or units, as well as to certain important documents. Finally, here are 3 points you should remember. Point 1. Is it mandatory for a corporation or an LLC to have a corporate ledger? Generally, no, but it is strongly recommended to have one. This makes it much easier to keep the corporate and official documents of the American company in the same place and in an orderly manner. Point 2. In the United States, the use of the corporate seal is much less widespread than in Europe. For Americans, it is a vestige of the past to which some are still attached. Point 3. Original share or unit certificates are often kept in the corporate ledger. However, a copy of these documents shall be given to each of their holders. This makes it easier to find the original certificates, especially when there is a transfer or cancellation of shares or units.